Look at these beautiful Esper cards. They are from the new set streets of Capenna. Today we will look at them and the family they represent, through the art of these cards and the themes that bind them together, the mechanics of the cards and what they tell us about the cards, and the stories behind the cards so that the context can enrich our experience. But we will do so slowly. Let's start with the card that should show us all aspects of today's Mafia family. Obscura Charm has art from Jeremy Solomon, which starts behind the mechanics of the card. We see a tall building. This is Rafine's tower, named after the family's cat-like leader. At the top of the tower we see a few interesting things. We see the mist that obscures our sight. The Obscura are secretive and control what you get to see. Inside the tower we see two wide open doors, signaling that information is welcome to walk in. In the middle of the frame we see the Obscura Charm, a small hidden knife made for backstabbing, pointing at a hand that wants to stop us, but also a hand that has a keyhole in it that we can use to open up the doors to all you know. The Obscura have their ways. The white, blue and black instant lets you choose one of three options. You can return a small permanent to the battlefield, showing us how the Obscura use literal trash to find out everything about the city. You can counter a spell, as perfections will be controlling whatever they can, or you could destroy a small creature or Obnixilis, because the Obscura can kill any normal person or an interplanar demon boss. We have unpacked these cards before and now it's time to really look at them, because looking at something makes you notice its beauty. I made themes that interest me, like the theme of today, the Obscura. Capenna has two eras aptly called Old and New Capenna. The five families of Capenna already existed then with similar roles. The Obscura were the wizards of this old society. Their purpose is unknown, but I assume they would advise the people of Capenna because they could see the future. In New Capenna they still provide information, but the info has gotten more expensive. The Obscura are tricky, but weak in combat as a mage should be. Their goal is to obtain information, which is very blue-black, and to control that information, which is very blue-white, making them an Esper color combination. The leader of our family is a Sphinx demon called Rafine. Like all five rulers of Capenna, Rafine became a demon once the city was saved by angels and the demons were left with a city of their own. Rafine is territorial, meaning that she does not like to have smarter people around. Because of this, she likes to hold all available information to herself, while her family runs to look for new information in order to climb the ranks of the family. Rafine's vanity also made her angry at her most trusted advisor for knowing more than she did. Her advisor, Camise, had found out about the prophecy telling the world that angels would return to Capenna. Rafine was the only one not getting that prophecy and therefore she forced Camise to find information on this attack on her status. Another card, Rafine's Guidance, shows us an orb. The Obscura use mirrors and orbs to watch over the city. They have ways to see every part of it and it's best to assume that Rafine can watch you from everywhere. You can use this guidance over and over by paying 3 more mana, as Rafine's Guidance is easy to come by. It might not be beneficial to you, but Rafine will be guiding you at every step of the way. Remy Jaco's art is purposeful. We see Rafine's head in the middle on a pedestal. This is because the Obscura also respect authority and leadership, and as long as Rafine is the one firmly in control with the most information, she will stay on her pedestal. Of course, from the moment where now she does not know something for the first time, this leadership might be at risk. Orbs and mirrors. But what does a mirror do? They reflect, meaning that while you might send information to them, they do not really give you as much information back. Instead for, well, your own reflection. In this case, I find it interesting to see that Rafine uses mirrors to communicate, showing that you might sometimes be able to talk with the Sphinx. Usually she will be the one listening. In the magic mirror from Eldraine we see a talking mirror. This one is the leader of the castle Ventress, where knowledge is the highest virtue, much like with the Obscura. The mirror gives you information, but only when you offer it something that it does not know yet. I take comfort in the fact that this mirror is so very much the same as how Rafine's mirrors work, as if I was, as a mere mortal, understanding how she works. In Rafine's tower we see the main building of the Obscura, a tall building that dominates the skyline. All because the Obscura love to oversee the city. They want to know without being known. The mist in Sam White's art shows the mystery of the city that you can't even pierce through with such a vantage point. The orbs in the art stand for all the ways that you're being watched while you're in Obscura territory. Rafine is a Sphinx, which is a very uncolor creature type. See, the first lands that used this color combination was also ruled by Sphinxes. The land of Esper on Alara was part of a plain and was also the part that was mostly blue and then black and white. It was a land where everything was controlled, and there was always a shortage of material for these artificers. The difference between Esper and the Obscura factions used to be that the Esper lived on their own, meaning that they had everything under control already. The Obscura still fight for control, meaning that there is less control in Capenna and more focus on gathering information. When Esper converged with the other colored planes of Alara, they also began fighting the other colors, using the control they had left to keep as much power and control as possible, losing a sense of composure and perfection, and gaining a more aggressive and defensive stance to protect the values that they had already lost. Still, even giant dragons would be afraid to lay siege to Esper cities because of the strength of the ruling sphinxes there. You wouldn't say that a sphinx is stronger than a dragon, but they are usually way larger and can use some magic. They have a sixth sense for truth, which is deeper than honesty, as they see things how they really are instead of just perceiving a part of it. On Ravnica these sphinxes are mostly azorius, white and blue, the colors of control and rules. Sometimes they can be aligned with the Dimir, mostly because they like how much information goes around in the guild. The fact that the Obscura are led by a Sphinx tells us that they would rather hold information and control it than gather it at all costs. The fact that Rafine is a demon makes her so eager to gather this information. We can see why the Obscura leadership is so weak now, as the truth is now sometimes left on the side of the road in favor of Rafine's personal knowledge. We know that Rafine is highly territorial. Still, there are other sphinxes on New Capenna, like Tivit, the seller of secrets. In the story he told Camise the prophecy of the angels that would return. This makes it extra interesting to me, as I wonder why Tivit is allowed to undermine Rafine so much. Tivit's creature type shows us some answer. He is a sphinx without being a demon, which might mean that he values truth over power. This means that he could take his place in his secluded home while gathering information. It also means that he stands for a concept, a light, that Rafine cannot dim. He stands for the concept of truth. His black-aligned nature reveals that he is a seller of secrets instead of just a teller. He does want something back, maybe even out of necessity, because he would need the resources to live while being as far removed from the main family as possible. In this way, the truth teller and secret seller of the Obscura will remain a thorn in Rafine's wings. Rafine has the ability to get in, perhaps with his psychic powers, and get clues and treasures by means of evidence and bribery. His second ability fits his role as rogue advisor and secret seller, because he lets you cast an extra vote, almost as if he is lending you anything as long as it goes against the crown. Tivit is a great political partner for anyone requiring change. The Obscura obscure. They shape secrets more than blatantly selling and sharing them. They change them so that their own family can come out on top in power struggles. One other place that sprang to mind is Brine Barrow on Kaldheim, the blue and black aligned harbor city that is rumored to have immeasurable treasure in it. Though when adventurers come here, they return home telling people of the amount of treasure they stole while otherwise only bringing home a few coins. Only some adventurers return, just enough to keep the adventurers calmer, The rest all become zombies for some reason. The biggest example of this shaping of secrets is the Dimir. These people do everything with their secrets. They disguise themselves, get rid of evidence in the most thorough ways possible, even erasing memories. They spread propaganda, knowing how people like to spread sweet lies over painful truths. And something the Obscura do less of, the Dimir even murder for power, and to get their messages across. They are subtle, yes, but they also know when to be crude. The Obscura are not scared of a little thievery. We see this in Nimble Larcenist, for example. They're a 3 mana flying 2/1, which is rather relevant. They also get to remove a spell or weapon from your opponent's hand. Not really stealing it, but making sure your opponent does not have it, which is almost the same. In the art from Male Tamphanon, we see a bird over 5 swords, which are symbolic for the mind over matter, where 5 stands for a moment of standstill conflict. In other words, this bird should be the one to sway the battle with one subtle push. Scheming Fence seems almost more upfront about this stealing. He uses a huge orb to trap the essence of a Riveteer worker or demon perhaps. They use this essence to stop the worker from doing their craft, while stealing that ability from themselves. That is a very Dimir thing to do. The stopping of the ability would have been very on color with their Azorius identity. And this is what the Obscura are, in essence, all about. Nothing inspirational, just controlling the populace. Toulouse is an example of this. She has her family intertwined with the Maestros, making her side with the family that's her enemy. Other than that, she has no weakness. She can defeat a rhino with her bare hands, she can turn invisible, and she can even make the most dangerous murderers fight for her. Toulouse enters, gives you a card, lets you discard one, and you will get that one back once Toulouse dies. Even other cards that you have sacrificed in your plans to gather information will be brought back with Toulouse at the helm of your train. Even the score is an epic of Obscura philosophy. The card itself lets you draw X, giving you 3 cards for 6 mana or 5 for 8, which would be fine. If your opponent would gather a lot of intel though, you will be able to draw 1 or 2 hands in retaliation. Drawing X cards without another cost is insane, but you will only be able to do so in retaliation to your opponent. The card's flavor says that when you steal from the Obscura, you will trigger a trap that makes you intangible, forcing you to drop your loot, your clothes, and your own money where you left them. The card is so Obscura because it says that you even the score while in reality you gain more than you lost. Those who try to rob the Obscura often leave behind more than they take away. Don't rob the Obscura, they are a foothold of power and knowledge. They are not as aggressive or anything as the Dimir, but they are way more powerful and controlling than the Azorius. And on that note, I would like to say that subscribing is free. And I thank you for watching this video. I did mean that last part, but otherwise I do also mean that I appreciate you watching this video.